All right, drawing 2. So this is the demo for that little page we were talking about earlier. Making these 6 circles into 3-dimensional looking balls with a full range of values. So I traced my little cap from my hairspray earlier, the one that I was showing you. Let me get these papers out of the way. And I have 6 circles total. So I just took this, circled it with my pencil. Remember, don't go any larger than 2 1/4 of an inch, no smaller than 1 1/2 inches. Just trace it, and voila. Now that I got my circles, I'm going to label each of my circles, and this first one is going to be side of pencil. Now I've got everything labeled. Again, first one was side of pencil. Second one, straight lines. Third, gesture and scumble. Fourth, blender, cross contour, and finally powdered graphite. Now this one is optional. You don't have to do it, but if you want to, you are welcome to have some fun. So we're going to start off talking about the side of the pencil. Now if you'll remember from the demo, we don't hold it like this. Rather, hold it where you can get the side of the graphite rather than the point. You can see that your marks are going to be wider and you can get more value put down on your paper as you work. So I'm going to start off working in a curved motion, because if you think about it, this is going to be a sphere. So my marks need to be curved as well. This is where the darkest part of my shadow is going to be. Make sure you figure out where you want your light source to come, and then just keep going. I'm building up my value. You may be tempted to use a blender or a Q-tip. Don't use it. This time we are only practicing hand control with the pencil. Clean it up as you need to. And if you can't avoid it, don't rub your little ball, but get a little Kleenex if you need to. Second one is straight lines. Now remember, don't work from your wrist, work from your elbow. These are going to be lines that are parallel to each other, like hatching lines, and they don't have hooks and they don't curve like this. This is the correct way. Now when I work with straight lines, I go from the outside in. That way I get nice clean edges, and it's just something that I like to do personally. If it works for you, go for it. If you need to work with your, uh-oh, I messed up. Let me get rid of that. All right, that was my brush. I had a brush right there. And now I'm just going outside in. If you need to turn your paper upside down, do that too. But continue to work in a curved pattern like I did with the first one. Start putting a little bit at the top. And as you can see now, I flipped it. I'm putting in my marks. I'm getting nice and thick, nice and dark. But I notice a flaw with my edge right here. See all those holes? If you get that, clean it up. I went outside the line, so I'm going to clean up my edge first. Now, now I'm going to come back with my pencil and get into those little crevices. Remember, this is the darkest part. We shouldn't see any light in there. Make sure you get those edges. Sloppy edges will destroy an artwork. Just keep working those values. Curve it up and in. Now you'll see that I'm working between 2 pencils because one is soft and one is harder, so it's easier to get lighter values and darker values. If you only have a number 2 pencil, that's okay. Don't worry about this trying to get as dark as possible. Remember, we are working with bare necessities and probably on copy paper too. Next, gesture and scumble. Some of you guys learn how to scumble like this. Nice loop-de-loops. Some of you learn like this. Jaggedy, rough curves. Personally, I like the second. That is how I tend to draw. You can also do a mixture of the two. Whatever floats your boat. So I'm going to start off kind of slow, kind of light, tight as well. Remember, this is a controlled scribble. So if your marks need to be small, make them small. Get those little edges too. Remember, this is the dark side. We will not see any light on this side. And make small little broken lines too. I like to put the light broken values down, kind of put everything in place before I start to go dark. A little bit at the top. All right, so now I'm going back over with some of the dark values, and I'm really having fun with these marks. Like I said, I like scumbling some of these jaggedy lines. It's fun. Make sure you go back in and you get those dark values really dark. I don't want to see any light in there. That's the dark side of the sphere. I need a little bit more at the top and curve it in a little bit. Pretty good. All right, next, cross contour. Remember, we want this to look like it has volume without any shading. And if you remember contour lines, they are long, continuous lines. Try to keep your pencil on the paper. We do not do short little sketches here. Long lines. Long lines that curve over your form. And there's the top of the surface getting smaller and smaller yet, and even smaller. Clean it up where you need to. It's okay if you need to make corrections. Everybody makes a mistake, even me. Now, I just use that Q-tip to blow things away, but we're not blending. Here is where we're blending. So when we use our blender, I like to put down some graphite first, then come back in and use this to draw with. And I'm going to use this to rub it into the paper and thin it out and spread it out. It's not as easy with a Q-tip, I'll be honest. It's much easier with a blender. But just keep working it, spreading those values around, blending it in to get rid of those light areas on the bottom, and then take it towards your highlight. And as you work towards the highlight, it'll get lighter and lighter. Now you can see I've been working this for a while. My Q-tip has gotten black, but it's starting to look really, really nice and blended. Now I feel like I put a little too much where my light should be, so I'm going to come back with my eraser and I'm just going to lift up some of that graphite. I don't like how dark it is. So I'm just going to push it back. Remember, don't swipe it with your hand. And then come back with your Q-tip or a blender if you've got one and just smooth out those edges of the eraser marks. Now, as you finish up, make sure you go back because the Q-tip is kind of fuzzy. Clean up your edges. Make sure it looks like a ball. Blow it, don't swipe it. There you go. All right, so the bonus ring. That one is the powdered graphite. So as you can see, I just took a knife and I scraped my pencil, and a little goes a long way, I must say. You're going to use your blender to work the powdered graphite in. Now I've seen, and I've done this myself, people take a paintbrush and use this. A paintbrush, a blender, a Q-tip, different things that you can play with. Don't use your finger. Again, we don't use fingers in the art room. And just keep playing with it. Again, this one is optional. You don't have to do it, but I must say it is fun. Whatever you do while you're doing this, make sure you don't sneeze. And that's it. All 6 spheres, all done.